Hey, what's up guys, my name is Brett. Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another Duel Links video, welcome back to a Duel discussion video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Duel Generation, and we're going to be talking about it in the context of what Konami can learn from Duel Generation actually put into Duel Links, because I've been playing Duel Generation, went back to it for the past couple of days, and the game is terrible, just straight up, it's a bad game in terms of the speed, the design, the general fun of it, but it does some things really right and some things really wrong that I think Konami could do wise from actually learning from for Duel Links. So let's get into this top 5 video. But before we actually get into it, I do want to actually give some context as to Duel Generation right now in comparison to Duel Links. So Duel Generation is more of a simulator mobile game than actual Duel Links, which is more of a video game. There's no real questing in Duel Generation, there's no real events you actually have, so Duel Links feels more of a fleshed out game, and I believe Duel Generation was actually a Western affair compared to a Japanese affair, which kind of might give you an idea of as to how Konami actually approaches video games in the different regions. Without further ado, let's go into that video. So for my first 2 points, these two kind of go into one another, and that is the story mode. So in Duel Generation, there is no real story mode. We know that Duel Links is actually considering a story mode in 2019. We've heard it from producers. I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago. And in Duel Generation, there's a campaign mode. It's kind of similar to Legacy of the Duelists and to Decade Duels Plus on the PS3 and 360, whereby you just go through and face each duelist one at a time. So like you go against Taya, Grandpa, Mako, Weevil, not in that order, but in some other arbitrary order, and you face against them one by one, and each of those duelists has 6 different duels against them. You can go through 3 decks with a weaker deck and then 3 decks with a harder deck, a bit similar to Duel Links' level 20 and 40 decks in the Duelist Chronicles events, but you really use them to grind out for currency, for duel points, which you use to go and buy free packs in the store, which obviously Konami I don't think would really want. I think Konami would rather go down a similar system to other gacha mobile games in the, or for their story modes at least, that once you complete those missions, you kind of can't go back and you get a certain reward when you complete them. Now, that's how not to do a story mode. Duel Generation is how you don't do one. You don't, not bare bones. Duel Links' story mode needs to have a linear connecting throughput. It needs to have an actual reason for you to play it, to be invested in it, because it's probably going to be quite a long affair to go through. If it is going to be a story mode, it's going to keep on being updated. So I'd hope at least that it's not just Duel X Duelist, Duel another Duelist, do this. There's actually more involved in that, whether that be through cutscenes or through challenges you have to do and complete in each duel, but just not just vanilla dueling. Then the benefit of Duel Generation story mode is that after each duel, you actually receive a card that fits along with the theme of that duelist deck. So when I faced off against Taya in her like her 4th duel, I think I received a Madolche card. When I faced off against Grandpa Muto in his 3rd duel, I got a Legacy Rasagarasu because his deck was very focused around drawing into Exodia. So there's a precedent there for getting cards related to the deck or archetype you're facing against, and I think that's a really good way of doing things. Obviously, Duel Links has a very similar thing currently in place with the Legendary Duelist with the gate drops, but I think just a campaign mode that gives you access to cards you can't get elsewhere would be really nice, because Duel Links does have an issue whereby its rewards are so spread out now between tickets and events and gates and all this stuff that there's no real reason to do any of the things in Duel Links if you can just get them from logging in or from playing ranked duels. So yeah, I quite like I think Konami should take this to heart and consider giving us some reward cards exclusive to the story mode. Then we have the weekly challenge. So Duel Generation does 5 predetermined decks. These are decks completely built by Konami, and you go through them in order, and after beating each one you receive a random card from Duel Generation's free-to-play card pool. Now, I would be against this, but the weekly challenge took me about 2 hours to do, and I had a pretty weak deck. Obviously if I had a better deck it would have been a lot easier, but I had like a basic star deck, and then I had a Blue Eyes deck that I paid for like years ago that I tried using, and that was a little bit better. But this challenge was actually hard, whereas in Duel Links the only kind of challenge we have in regards to PvE is the Vagabond, and I think Konami could do a really fun thing with a weekly challenge involving the Vagabond, where they do select some of the best decks from a Casey Cup or from a meta tournament or from just ranked duels or whatever, and present those to you and actually let you go through them and obtain rewards as you go through them. Obviously, Duel Links does have something very similar in the Duel Links has weekly login missions, but those missions give like 30 gems, which isn't even a full pack, and they also give out currency and keys and stuff that for long-term players don't mean anything because they've done everything they kind of have to or have done with all of those currencies, and the card trade doesn't get updated enough as it is. There's no real use for gold anymore, so the weekly challenge in Duel Generation I think is a lot better. It gives you access to some pretty cool cards. I got Overmind Archfiend, Quaker Hercules, Falchion B, Three-Legged Zombies, though, like kind of the random one card drops, and then once you complete all 5 of them, you actually get a whole pack. I actually got a Goza match in there, so if I was playing the TCG, I'd be pretty happy with that. But the challenges for those that actual weekly challenge were actually quite hard. They started off very easy with like a vanilla deck, and then it was just a general beatdown, and then it got to doing a Ragnar Zero Venom Swamp combo, and then there was a Mermail deck, and then we ended off with a pure Duel Links deck with Sylvans and Armades, so taking from the newest Duel Links box, which was quite interesting to play against, and I got absolutely destroyed by the Mermail deck about 4 times trying to beat it. So the challenges weren't too easy, but they were quite difficult, quite challenging, you know, as they should be. You know, when we get the Duelist Challenges event in Duel Links, they're always pretty straightforward and easy, and they're just challenges, not just duels that you have to try and win against really hard decks. So I'd quite like to see this. 4th on our list is Facebook polls for new free premium cards. So I didn't really describe this earlier, but in Duel Generation there's 2 forms of cards. You can get free cards, there's about 4,000 of them, which you get from exchanging duel points for packs in the store, and then there's also premium cards which you pay real money for, in the form of structure decks, booster packs, and special sets, which gives like 9 cards in them each or whatever, and they each relate to a certain deck theme. So you could go in and buy a full UA deck or Mermail deck or Sylvan deck for about £4.79, which of course is way cheaper than Duel Links, but you know, obviously you don't get the thrill of opening random packs to obtain those cards. Now, the reason this is number 4 is because we don't really have any real communication with Konami on this game. There's no real fan interaction outside of like the surveys. There's no real interaction between the developer and us, the players. And so these Facebook polls actually allow duelists to, they'll usually give away, like in November they did a campaign for hero cards. So every week everyone got 3 guaranteed hero cards, and then the Facebook users could choose between 2 sets of 3, whether they wanted, I think one week it was like Evil Heroes or Masked Heroes, I think it was. And of course, Evil Heroes won somehow. You know, I thought Masked Heroes would, but Evil Heroes did win, and so people in Duel Generation got those Masked Hero cards. In October, there was a Halloween event where they gave away 10,000 free coins, and then they also gave away the option of either having Stygians or Burning Abyss cards, and of course Burning Abyss won, and so people have got Dante for free in their game. So the good thing about this is that these are premium cards that can only be usually bought with real money. So it's kind of like Konami doing the SR or UR guaranteed dream tickets. It's kind of reminiscent of that, but just with more input from the community, and I think that would go a long way with actually just extend the good faith of the game, the goodwill of the game to the players from Konami. And when I logged in, I got Mirror Force Dragon, and the Fang of Critias. So I actually got some pretty decent cards for a Dragon deck that I was playing at the time anyway. So that was quite nice, and just seeing cards like that in this game really makes me want them in Duel Links. And finally, one of the biggest things, and I think something that people have asked for a very long time in Duel Links, is that Forbidden Limited cards can be used outside of ranked PvP duels. In Duel Generation, there is a thing called the Duel League, which takes the place of ranked duels in Duel Links. And if you're playing with friends, or you're playing an unranked duel, so a casual duel, you can set the ban list to off, so you can play with cards that aren't on the TCG ban list. In Duel Links, you can't do this. Now, I'm not sure if in Duel Generation you can use this with the AI, the campaign mode, but if you can, then that is one area that Duel Generation is leaps and bounds beyond Duel Links, because people have asked if we can use things like Cup of Ace, the Woodland Sprite FTK, the Cyber Angels, and use those actually in PvP, where we can use to farm our characters easier, and just in duel rooms and anything, just have a more fun time with the game. And I think that's something I would personally like to see as well. So let me know your thoughts on these 5-ish different things that Duel Links could kind of learn from Duel Generation. I apologize if this video was a bit rambly, a bit all over the place. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare this video for you guys, but I did want to kind of get something out this week because I know I've been lacking on the uploads recently, especially with the sponsored video over the weekend. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you did enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video. See you then.